Okay, so it is also very important topic that we are going to discuss. Um, so as I always say, like I would request all of devotees to put the points, whatever you observed, and then we should discuss actually. Okay, so all of us should put come forward. Don't be hesitant to come up with the points. Okay, so what are the important points here actually in the first translation and purport? First, we'll see the first shloka. So please come up with the points and then let us discuss those points. So I think many of the topics, I think we are quite conversant. We have been discussing this topic for quite some time, right? So I think it should be easy also.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, according to the translation, our mind is what matters everything, whether our good upcoming or whether we get deteriorated or degraded is only by controlling our mind. If we control our mind, uh, we get to be a controlled soul or conditioned soul. Otherwise, it is the vice versa, Prabhuji.
Mm. Okay. So what is a conditioned soul, Mataji?
Conditioned soul is what they take the failure and the success in the same mode, Prabhuji. They don't get exaggerated when the failure comes, and they are not overly happy when they are in success, if I'm right, Prabhuji.
Okay. So in the our context, conditioned soul means somebody actually is under the influence of material nature. Okay. So somebody who takes success and failure in equal manner, he is not. He is a kind of a liberated soul. Okay.
Okay.
So conditioned
Okay.
soul is opposite of a liberated soul. We have discussed, no, Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Baddhas. A,
Okay.
nit-
Okay.
a conditioned soul means he is bound by the material laws. So he is conditioned. So basically, what it means is that the living entity, somebody who is in the bodily consciousness, right? He is a conditioned soul, because we have been used to accepting so many material bodies in the material world that we are conditioned to that. So we generally in a daily day-to-day activities also we say, now he became conditioned to the situation, right? So if you are conditioned to, so for example, a person who is a doctor, okay, or a nurse who is working in an emergency ward, right, or a what is it called, casualty. So they become conditioned to seeing actually, like many people comes there with accident, right, and daily
Yeah.
many people come with like severe accidents and trauma. So they become used to that actually. But if we go there, no, we'll become very much distressed by seeing those things. But a person who is regularly in that ward, he become conditioned to it, so they are not much affected actually. So if we go there, we may not be able to eat food the night actually, or we may not be able to sleep by seeing those things. But a person who is conditioned, he will not, he'll be get used to it and he will not have any problem. So similarly, the living entity in the material world, they become conditioned by the material nature. They accept the material bodies, so many lifetimes, and they are convinced. They always think. I mean, there is no question that no, they are not the body. They always think that they are the body. So they are bound by the material laws like sattva-guna, rajoguna, tamoguna. So the conditioned soul means somebody who is actually entangled in the material world, who is not liberated, is a conditioned soul. If somebody
Oh,
who is
okay.
liberated, yeah. This is a very. I think we use this condition soul now in very frequently. So I think we should. It's good that we should understand exactly what it means. Okay,
Oh,
it's good,
oh,
Mataji.
okay. Sorry, I think I have understood in the other way around.
Yeah, but it's good
Sorry.
now. Now we have clarified it. It's good.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. So I think you were saying you continue. You can continue, Mataji. You were saying no something.
I meant to say, Prabhuji, if we are controlled our mind, then we become the liberated soul. Like failure, success, nothing is going to affect the soul. They take everything into the same thing, and their only platform is God.
Yes.
And if you are giving away for our mind and we are falling for our material sense gratification, the mind becomes the best enemy for us or the greatest enemy, as told in the other verse also. Then we fall for it. We can never become liberated soul. Rather, as you mentioned, now we will be like a conditioned soul, just get along with all our material satisfactions and keep on going with that. We won't even know what is right or wrong.
Hmm. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thanks. Thank you, Mataji. Yes. So I would like other devotees. Everybody can discuss. What other points are there? Nobody has to. No, don't worry that okay if it is wrong, what will happen? Like we are just expressing our thought, right? So I think we learn by that only. By discussing, we'll actually learn to discuss. So I think it's important that we discuss so that we become comfortable with these topics gradually. And then we can talk to others also, right? Who are our well wishers, we can actually also convey the knowledge. So I think gradually we should understand these things in more and more detail. So by discussing, discussing, actually we will become more and more conversant. Okay. Yeah. So what are the other points, devotees here?
Prabhuji, like here it is mentioned like Atma denotes body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
Like body is considered as Atma. It comes under Atma, Prabhuji.
So it's a question.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Actually, it's mentioned on the Jina. So the Atma can mean multiple things. Okay. See, Atma actually means self. Okay. So depend on the level of the person, right? Some people think that Atma is the body. I am the body, right? So for whoever thinks that I am the body, Atma is the body. So the word Atma means I am self, me or myself. That is what Atma means. So depending, so somebody are in the bodily consciousness, the basic people, right? As the people who are in the lowest consciousness, they think that they are the body. So for them, Atma means body. Okay, and somebody is little more elevated. They think that okay, I'm mind actually. Mind, I am the mind. I'm not the body. I'm the mind. That's an intermediate stage. And somebody who's still more realized, no, they think that I am not the body nor the mind. I am the soul. Aham Brahmasmi, right? That kind of understanding. So for them, it is soul. So in Sanskrit or any other language, right? Any other language, a particular word can have multiple meanings. Similarly, Atma is actually contextual and also depends on the level of understanding of the person who actually speaking about it. So that way, Atma has different meaning. So the most commonly used word of Atma in general actually means the soul. We say no like Mahatma, and then the Atma we say no the Atma like we are actually somebody passes away. We say that okay we let that Atma rest in peace like that we say. So that traditionally in our culture, generally Atma is commonly used to denote the soul only, but it can mean multiple things actually based on the context, Mataji. Is that okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And here it is mentioned in the yoga system means it is not like maybe the mind and they referred here as the mind and the conditioned soul. So here basically they are it means like Atma they are referring to most to mind and the soul sorry conditioned soul.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that that is the reason we have to control that mind. The using the yoga system. Uh, like we have other different yoga system like breathing and all mainly to focus fix our mind in one
Mm.
so that we can control our sense object.
Yes.
So and it is also mentioned that we should be the mind should be trained to so that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mere of science. So
Mm.
basically the paragraph tells about how to control the mind so that we can um, um, control our senses so so that we can our mind gets purified basically like I think here they are mentioning the point why it should be controlled.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here there are
So
some points. Yes.
and here the soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved in the false ego. So that is the reason it is entangled here in the material nature.
Yes. Okay. So
So it
what is
can
it? Yeah. So here actually see one thing is mentioned. So like for example, what is false ego? Anybody remembers? It's mentioned right material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord over the material nature. So what is false ego and yeah, what is false ego?
ego is basically we
False ego
mean
is
we are the creator, we are the enjoyer. That is a
Mm.
false ego.
Yeah. Somebody else also want to say like
Same thing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, it is same thing. That I comes as a false ego, Prabhuji.
We think we are enjoying, or we are responsible for the actions, or we have achieved, or whatever success and failures are because of us.
Yeah.
And so thinking that that we are the doer and the enjoyer. So
Okay. Then so who is the enjoyer then? If we are not enjoyer, then who is the enjoyer?
if we have the concept of that I am responsible for doing this, then the concept of I am responsible for the results also becomes therein uh, applicable.
Hmm.
Prabhuji, as in, if the mindset is that I have done the work, then the result of that will automatically come to that same I which was conceived when I felt I did the work. So
Hmm.
when it is not done with that bhavana itself in the beginning, then that kartritva bhava will not be attached to that.
Hmm.
So the same action can be dependent upon what we think before we do the action, and not just think that when the results come favorable, that I have done the work. When the
Hmm.
results come unfavorable, that it is God's will. So that will be not the right bhavana. That's what I thought, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
In
man.
practical sense, maybe that is.
Yes. So yeah. So these are the different aspects, no? Like how do we do activities in the material world, right? So some people, so different levels of our understanding and levels of elevation to spiritual platform. Okay. So in very simple terms, no, I think we have discussed false ego, right? And couple of one session on false ego alone. So from our like from a Vedic perspective, especially we are actually looking from the perspective of understanding Supreme Lord and the constitutional position of living entity. So the false ego just means that like thinking that I am the body. That's all. Okay, so everything else comes from that actually understanding. I am the body. So actually, when you say there's a false ego, that means that there is some real ego also, right? So that actually we already discussed. So real ego is actually understanding that I am the spirit soul, and false ego is thinking that I am the body. Okay, so this is a very deep rooted. That's why we are calling condition, right? This the false ego concept is very deep rooted, and that is actually the one of the primary causes of we being in the material world. We are remaining in the material world. As long as the false ego is there, we will continue to be in the material world. So basically that is a understanding that I am the body. Okay, so also realization also is important. See, now when we have been discussing for a long time, right? I am not the body, I am the soul. Actually, we have a theoretical understanding that okay, I am not the body, but activities are not like that. Even though we understand theoretically, but our activities are still on the platform of the body, because everything that we do in our day-to-day life is on that platform, bodily platform, right? If we are on the soul platform, right, that is a spiritual platform. So when we are on there are two platforms, right? Bodily platform and spiritual platform. So bodily platform is like every living entity in the material world is 100% convinced that I am the body. Like there is no other way of thinking actually. That's the only way we think, because there is no question of even beyond that. That is how every activity that we do, right? Because see, because I think I am this body, so this body which we got is a temporary identity, right? So all of us has different names, right? So like no, we call like a devotee A, devotee B, whatever it is, whatever our names, right? So so this is our temporary identity which will not last for long, right? Maximum it lasts for 80 years, 100 years. And then after that actually we get a new identity, new bodily identity, right? So in every bodily identity, we our activities are actually such that I am convinced that I'm so. Because just imagine, the activity that we are doing in a day to day life. So basically, for example, when we become a parent, all our activity is directed to look, for example, looking after the children, right? Looking after the parents, looking after the husband, or looking after the wife. So that is because I think that I am this person, then all other relationships exist actually. But somebody who is actually elevated to the soul platform, right? He will not think in that way. He will not think in this bodily relationship, because he first of all he think that he is not a body. This body is only temporary. I just got it in this lifetime because of my karma, and then I keep on getting bodies, right? So so as long as we act on the bodily platform, right? So that is what every day we do. Each and every activity that we do is on the bodily platform, and only the activity that is not on the bodily platform is the spiritual platform, which actually is spiritual activity, devotional activity. Because the Supreme Lord is not in the bodily platform, he is Supreme Spirit. And whenever we do any activity which is connected to Supreme Lord, actually we are elevating ourselves to we are going away from the bodily platform and doing the spiritual. But actually, though we may not be aware of that, But in fact, somebody who's already liberated or a pure devotee, he can understand. He can see that all the living entity, any living entity who is performing a devotional service, he is not in the bodily platform when he is performing that devotional activity. So this is kind of a little difficult to understand because we are so much into that that no, it is very difficult to imagine what exactly it is, right? But only by gradual progress in devotional life, one gradually get the realization, and then that practical understanding or the we are not the body will only come after a very long time. We have discussed that there are various stages in devotional service, right? So it takes time actually. So only the easiest way to realize that is doing devotional service, like starting with the chanting of the holy name. So when we keep doing, just like always, Prabhupada used to give the example of an iron rod. Iron rod is kept in the fire. So the iron rod actually is like a living entity, and fire is like a spirit or no spiritual energy. So whenever the iron rod is kept in the fire, then actually the iron rod will attain that particular quality of this fire. Like that become that the living entity becomes spiritualized by doing the devotional service. As long as the living entity is connected to the supreme spirit by doing devotional activity, he attains the spiritual qualities. But when the activity is stopped, or when the iron rod is removed from the fire, then actually again it regains its previous state, which actually is the living entity regains when it comes back to the bodily consciousness. Okay, so but actually the more you keep in the fire, the more actually the spiritual qualities attain. So that is why ultimately the living entity when the living entity comes to a stage where he is continuously engaged in devotional service, then only he becomes liberated. Otherwise, so that is why all the devotional activities are intended actually. The Navavidha Bhakti, right? 9 process on devotional service are there. So, like for example, when we chant the holy names of the Lord, at that time we are actually connected to the spiritual energy of the Lord, right? So we remain in that. So temporarily we become connected to this Lord, and actually we are above the bodily platform. But when we keep doing that regularly, continuously for a long period, then actually gradually we start to realize that actually we are not the body. But otherwise, it's a theoretical understanding. See, we can just have some theoretical understanding. We can try to understand. Okay, there is a body, there is a mind, then there is a soul. Like that, we are not acting in that platform. Even though I understand we cannot be in the spiritual platform understand until we become more and more elevated or progress in spiritual life. So this basically the false ego is in very simple term is a wrong identity of the living entity, thinking that he is the body, right? This is the false ego. And because when he thinks that he is the body, his activities are accordingly. When a living entity who is in the false ego, there are two characteristics for the living entity in the false ego. One is that he has a tendency to lord it over the material nature. No, like he wanted to control. He has a tendency to control the activity, material nature. He wants to become the controller, right? And and second thing is that he want to enjoy independent. So these are the nature of the living entity who is in the false ego, right? So these are the typical characteristics. So these are two reasons mainly, right? Lording it over the material nature, like whatever our capacity or whatever our circle of influence, in that circle I want to be the lord actually, right? I want to be the controller. So this is the nature. And second is that I want to be the enjoyer of whatever my limited scope or circle of influence, and I want to enjoy. So these are the actually characteristics. But what is the original characteristic of the living entity? Anybody can say?
Satchitananda.
Yes, that is the nature. And what is the activity he does in original position, constitutional?
Is always a servant of the God.
Yes, correct.
Knows
Yeah.
that he is part and parcel of the Lord, Prabhuji.
Yes. So Jivera Swarup, Hoy Krishna and Nityadas. So the constitutional position of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Lord. That is the constitutional position, right? So so that is why whenever the living entity is in the constitutional position, he is happy. Okay, whenever he is not in the constitutional position, he is unhappy. Just like the example is of the fish is given, right? A fish when it is in water, that is his constitutional nature to be in water, and when he is in water, then actually he is very happy. And the moment he is out of the water, right? No matter how other comforts is provided, if he is out of the water, he cannot never be happy. So similarly, all the living entities who are in the material world, they are the sparks, like just like the sparks from the fire, right? The Supreme Lord is a fire, and living entities are like sparks which has fallen off from the Supreme Lord. And when the sparks are disconnected from the fire, as long as the spark is part of the fire, it is very potent and powerful. It has all the qualities of spiritual fire. It can it can cause a fire with that spark. But when actually as soon as the spark is separated, then actually the gradually it loses the spiritual potency. So so that actually is the no, that is the nature of the living entity, right? So original nature of the living entity is to serve the Lord. Jivara Swarup Hari Krishna Nanditadas, right? So and as soon as he becomes separate, so that is called Vibhinnamsha. The living entities are called Vibhinnamsha. They are separated energies of the Lord. Okay, so when the living entity again engage in the service of the Lord, then again it becomes in the constitutional position, and that is why a devotee who performs devotional activity very sincerely, he gets unlimited happiness. He becomes happy naturally, right? So that is because actually he is again engaged in the original spiritual nature. He is again getting connected to the spiritual energy of the Lord. So that is how it is actually. So the living entity's constitutional position is to serve the Lord always. Is always a servant of the Lord. Okay, so then that is why. So, but when they come to material world, we have seen that the material world is like a reflection of the spiritual world. Everything is now ulta in the material world. So when the living entity comes to the material world, his behavior is changed actually. And why he comes to the material world is because of the desire actually, because of the desire to lord it over, and also the desire to enjoy independent of the Lord. Living entity actually is cast into the material world, which is meant for the material world is designed and created for such living entities who are rebel, right, and then rebellious and who want to enjoy independence of the Lord. Okay, this we have discussed earlier also many times. And this way the conditioned soul may be saved. Okay, so there it is told, one should not degrade oneself by attraction of sense object. The more one is attracted to sense object, the more one becomes entangled in material expression. The best way is to disentangle oneself is always to engage the mind in the Krishna consciousness. This word he used for emphasizing the point. Okay, so here it is telling like this, right? One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects, and so that the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted to the glitter of material nature. And in this way, conditions all may be saved. So, what can you tell what is the problem? Like when a devotee becomes attracted to when a living entity becomes attracted to sense object, right? How actually he becomes entangled? Can somebody explain that?
He or she will get engaged in different kinds of desires, and then
Mm,
that will lead to different kinds of emotional things and thoughts, with anger, avarice, lust, greed,
mm.
and so will be the actions also. So that's how they get entangled more and more, that because of the desires that are generated when mind is uh, material.
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Anybody else want to add or share some views on this topic? So do we all realize like how we are like do we when we try to analyze ourselves, we can try to find out like how are we attached to material things and in which way. So this understanding, right? So somebody who's very deep in ignorance, right, who actually doesn't have any spiritual knowledge, they will not be able to even understand that something is wrong, because they more behave in an instinctive manner. So for them, they will not be, if you tell them no, they will not accept this, because they are actually so much into it that no, they don't know anything else. But as we try to make progress in spirituality, we understand spiritual topics, and we do devotional activity, then actually we gradually see that we are having so many different attachment in the material world, right? So many things we took it for granted actually, also we realize that okay, how actually those things can also be difficulty in the path of spiritual life, right? So so I would like to hear more actually from devotees. What other devotees think about it actually? So how are we attached to different things in the material world, and how actually how these things is a problem, the attachment to the material sense objects.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Uh, the most material attachment is our relationships, Prabhuji, father,
Hmm.
mother, child, husband, those thing one, and then owning a property, buying an house, or getting attached to vehicles, all those things.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, but how is it causing a problem?
We are getting so attached to them, Prabhuji. We are deviating from God's consciousness. We forget what, as you mentioned, no, Prabhuji. We forget that we are servants of God. The false ego starts coming, and we feel we are the owners of everything that is around us. Whatever we do, we think that it is because of us, and we
Yes.
own everything.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, and whatever is Mataji is all told, and what I think is because of all these attachments, we get entangled so much that it is very difficult for us to remember the Lord at the time of death, which
Yes.
is the only thing we must be doing. So if we are more attached, then definitely we will get detached from the Lord, and we
Yes.
definitely will forget Him.
Mm.
And as in Bharat Maharaj example, he got so attached to the deer, and because of that reason, even though uh, he's so powerful yogic personality bhakta, but still because of small attachment, he has to take a birth again.
Yes.
So so these entanglements will make us to forget the Lord.
Mm.
Yeah. And it is very difficult to remember him at the time of death.
Yes.
That is one.
Correct.
And Prabhuji, to add on to Mataji's, and that is the reason we are trying to be along with devotees,
Yes.
because of which we will be able to, because of whom we will be able to remember God. Because remembering God at the time of death is impossible unless and until we practice it for a very long time, because of our material tendency and attachment to material stuff. As Mataji said, we won't be able to remember God at the time of death just by praying or doing devotional service. We should be doing it for a pretty long time, and we should be among the devotees to be in the same track, Prabhuji. If I'm putting across it right, I don't know, Prabhuji.
No, yes, no, that's very, very nice point. Yeah, sure, actually. See, yeah, that's what I mean. The association of devotees is like very, very important. So it's part of the ABCD, the principle of ABCD, right? Association comes first. So because actually by nature, the living entity's nature is that such that we actually, based on the people who we surround, right, we will actually acquire those qualities. So when we are connected with devotees, naturally we will talk about devotional service, and we do more devotional activity, right? And by their mercy also helps us to make progress, because actually this material energy, Krishna, as many times we have discussed, is very, very difficult to overcome actually, right? Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya, right? So Manam, it's very difficult to overcome. The Supreme Lord, who is actually the creator of the Maya, he himself is saying that it's very difficult to overcome. So only by the mercy, by our own endeavor, it's not possible. Just like no, a dog cannot swim across the ocean, right? It's not possible. Or even a human being cannot cross. So without the mercy of a devotee, it's very difficult to overcome all these difficulties. Okay, so actually, if we analyze, no, we see that there are so many things. Like, for example, we are trying to analyze the mind now. Then we analyze the intelligence. Then actually we try to analyze how the different karma is happening, how actually the living entity is getting entangled. So all these are analytical study kind of. And by doing only analytical study, we cannot actually become free from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, but it's an empirical study or analytical study will just give you all the information. But how to cross over this material existence is actually something beyond knowledge, right? Or by mystic yoga. Krishna has mentioned actually in scriptures in various places, the Lord has repeatedly told that no, by any of this process, like yoga, Ashtanga yoga, or by or by jnana, process of jnana, knowledge, or by renunciation, or by vairagya, or by doing Vedic sacrifices, by doing charity, by any of these processes, it is not possible to obtain the lotus feet of the Lord. It's not possible to cross over this material existence, right? Only by actually with the help of the Lord or his devotees, actually it works, right? Because the entire spiritual process is not something from the material world, right? It's spirituality is completely different from material existence. So it actually works in a different way. So the association of devotees is very, very important, because when you even though there are two ways actually, one is analytical study, we can become convinced in the philosophy, and actually then further we actually do the remaining devotional service, right? Actually all this analytical study and the jnana, right, the philosophical understanding or the all the analytical study or this knowledge actually is not really necessary to cross over the ocean. But people who are intellectually inclined, they may not accept the process. So for them to become convinced, it may be important to understand these things. But nevertheless, even if you don't know the technicalities, how mind is working or how intelligence is controlled, or how senses can be controlled, if you don't do anything, but you just have faith in the process, and you just execute devotional service, even a great fool, the lowest of the human being, he can become easily delivered by by following the process, because the process actually is potent by itself, right? And then the process actually can deliver the living entity. Okay, so that is these are all the certain things actually I understand, right? But no, it may not be somebody who's inclined to the intellectual aspect, they may not be able to accept it easily, right? So that is why we can also analyze in this way, and then try to come up to a come to a point where actually we can understand how can be solved. Okay, so that is the point. Yeah, so actually practically, it is very difficult to understand how we are in a day-to-day life. Now if you think and meditate, how are we behaving, what are the activities that we are performing, actually we will ourselves will be surprised that how much we are entangled in the material life. Okay, so basically we have to understand one more thing is that no so we cannot prematurely give up things also, right? So everybody has a particular capacity to perform certain activity. Also it making spiritual progress also, see there is one way, like for example we can make a person swim, no, just by pushing him into water suddenly, right? So it is possible that he may drown or he may learn to swim. So similarly spirituality also can be, somebody can take it very quickly without much problem, but somebody, if you try to we try to push ourselves too hard, and actually we may lose it also. So everybody has a particular way or a particular capacity to adapt the things, right? But the fact remains the same, that ultimately at some point of time we have to give up all the attachments. Okay, when actually that is up to us. But no, prematurely tomorrow, today only, I have a lot of responsibilities. I have family, children, so many other people depending on me, and then I am a very responsible person in society. I have so many duties. So suddenly, if I give it up everything, I may not be able to do it actually, because then if I'm not satisfied or if I'm not comfortable doing that and try to force myself doing, then it becomes a premature exercise, and no, you may not be able to continue. You may have to you will not be able to continue the devotional life. So based on each and every person, we have to gradually, based on our ability and capacity, we have to gradually give up. But as we always say, there is a criteria to enter the spiritual world. For example, we can say, or there's a criteria to become a pure devotee of the Lord, or even for getting liberation also there is a criteria, right? It is not that anybody and everybody can become liberated, or no, it's not that anybody and everybody can go to Vaikunta, or no, or Goloka Vrindavan. So going to every planet, there is a qualification. But in general, for becoming liberated, the qualification is that we should become free from the attachments, right? So liberation and attachment are just opposite word, right? So one who is attached naturally cannot be liberated, right? They are actually kind of opposites. So at some point of time we have to become attached, because actually all these things are false attachments. So, see, we cannot have, like, we cannot burn a fire at the same time, pour water to it, right? That is not a practical thing. So at one side we are saying that I want to go to spiritual world, right? I want to become free. But then at the other side, we are not ready to give up anything, because we, even after knowing that this is all false, this is all temporary, nevertheless actually we are not in a position to give up anything, because we are so much attached to it. We cannot give up anything, because theoretically we may think that okay, I will give up, but when really something comes, right, some problem comes in our life or some disease comes, then actually our mentality will change completely. We are very scared, we are afraid to what will happen and things like that. So somebody who actually is self-realized, who is very convinced in the spiritual path, one of the characteristics of such a person is that is completely fearless. He will not be having any fear. No, like he's not feared of death. He doesn't have any fear of death, because actually he knows that what is the because this is a continuous process. And when a person has already made progress, or he's become perfect, then actually it is better to die as well as possible, because there is no point in wasting time here, because this is anyway not my place, right? Everything is kind of everything in the material world is a temporary thing. It's all ulta. Everything is opposite actually. So this way, but nevertheless we cannot do that. Our mind will not allow us to give up things because of the attachment to things, right? We are so much attached. So these things, I think we have to keep thinking about all these things, right, from a philosophical perspective, if you want to analyze it. But otherwise, if you have faith, just execute devotional service. Have faith, just sincerely execute devotional service, like chanting all the things, ABCDs. Then automatically, this will gradually come by mercy of the Lord. Okay. So any other points in this till now? Any questions in this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Charan Prabhu.
The Paramatma is telling in that translation, that means in the sloka, that in the first sloka, Prabhuji, that he's not telling about controlling the mind. He's telling that you should deliver the mind. So without help of the mind also we can deliver by ignoring the mind. So that should not degrade the mind.
Hmm.
No, Prabhuji. So like how much important is mind, Prabhuji? Like you can do the work without the help of the mind also. So means like he'll be like if you go against of the mind, it will be troubling. So if you go with the help of the mind, it'll be like a friend.
Hmm.
So that so how much helpful is the mind, Prabhuji? Like you should deliver with the help of the mind, not
Yeah.
to grade himself.
See, mind is an integral part of us. We can't ignore. I mean, it is not. We cannot do anything without the mind actually, because that is not possible. See, the mind actually is see, in every activity the mind is there, which you are performing, right? So what actually the intention is that we have to transform everything actually, like the mind, intelligence, etc. has to be transformed. So now everything is on the material conscious, material aspect. All of them are lingering on the material platform. When actually we engage all of them in the spiritual platform, then the mind becomes our friend. The mind which is engaged in the material platform is our enemy, right? And the mind which is engaged in the spiritual platform is our friend. And this also depends on what is our destination. If somebody is a materialistic person, right, for him, if you say that for him the spiritual platform is not the goal actually, right, because he want to become happy in the material world. For him actually, here the mind will become friend if the mind gives him material comforts and material success. So we are talking about devotees. For devotee, the destination actually is to free from this entanglement. Right? For such a person, the mind actually has to be involved in the spiritual activities, so that so that our mind, intelligence, everything actually works in that particular direction. So that is what it means. So the mind cannot be. It's very difficult to ignore the mind completely. The only what we can do is that we have to transform the mind. So by doing devotional activity continuously, the mind also get transformed. Actually, the mind gradually aligns, with our goal. No, the mind then starts to give you. So when we were not devotees, right, the mind always used to give, will not give any devotional thing, right? It always used to give only material ideas, saying that okay, go here, go there and enjoy, eat this food and all blah. But gradually, when we are training the mind by devotional service, the mind actually reduces those kind of suggestions, right? The mind will tell, okay, today I should attend the Bhakti Viksha, today I should chant. So the mind is already being transformed actually. So we have to continue doing that, so that the mind actually also aligns, mind, intelligence, everything aligns actually with our goal. That's is it okay?
Yes, sir. One more thing, Prabhuji, like if we start doing development skills, Prabhuji, that mind will be totally opposed. Like 100%, it be like a kind of NUS to Krishna. So
Hmm.
we want to actually we want in such stage we don't know how to control the mind, because the devotional service only the mind will come.
Hmm.
So that time, what need to be done, Guruji? Like if we want to, for example, if we want to chant, then mind will tell you are best. Like it will tell don't want to chant like that. So then I tell that means we need to chant and like that.
Yeah.
So we are actually unable to deliver with the help of mind. So how to overcome that?
Yes. So for this actually, the solution is actually association. So when we are ourselves in the deep problem, then actually we need help of somebody else. Just like a person who is having a psychiatric problem, right, who is having an issue in the mind, he actually, it will be very difficult for him to help himself, right? So beyond, if it goes beyond a prop level, right, he needs an external help. Somebody has to help him. A counselor or a psychiatrist is required. So similarly, when actually our mind is very much liberal, what you call, uh, rebellious, and then not at all agreeing, then actually the only thing can help actually is association of devotees. So when somebody is in continuous association of devotees, then actually the mind actually, gradually relents, because actually by the influence of other devotee, right? So there are two levels. One is like a practical level, like just like any other material activity, by association mind becomes changed. Similarly, mind also gets changed in that level. And second is by the mercy of the devotees, because other Vaishnavas, other devotees actually, when you are associating with them, because generally the devotees are very merciful to a conditioned soul, like they want to help other living entities. So by their mercy, like one devotee prays, you tell some devotee that okay, I'm having this many problems, I'm not able to focus, and the other devotee prays for you, right? He prays to the Lord saying that okay, no, this devotee is facing so much problem, please help him, the Lord. So because the other devotee is close to the Lord actually is definitely will hear. So like that, so one good way of no controlling the mind, or no, like if it is not at all listening to you, is actually to increase the association with the devotees. Try to spend more time with devotees some or other. And then second thing could be that may or may not work actually, like you can read more books by the acharyas, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, because the mind actually is not convinced actually, maybe because of that is not allowing you. So you can read the scriptures to some extent, actually it may help to some extent. But more than that, actually the best thing which will help is association only in such a case. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, we have to engage. See, do devotional activity as much as possible, like chanting, hearing kirtan. So we may like some activity in devotional life, right? Somebody may like chanting, somebody may like reading, somebody may like hearing, somebody may like kirtan, like that. Somebody may like deity worship. So, or somebody may like to do some other service actually, like no, like doing some. Now we are not able to do like helping something. For example, serving prasadam to devotees. So some in some way we can become attracted to devotional activity and do some service. And whenever we render more and more devotional service, right, our anarthas are actually washed off, right? Our actually bad karma is also removed, and then we become more and more favorable to devotional service. And other thing, one more thing is we can use is that, for example, basically doing more devotional service, and like for example, this is Purushottam month, right? Actually, it is told that it's a very auspicious month, and we can try to do any small. We can try to increase our devotional activity to some extent, right? And the Kartik month is coming. That also is very good opportunity, right? So these kind of engage in devotional activity that actually will help us a lot. It will give a lot of boost in our devotional life. And like later we'll have book distribution will be coming. So like that, engage in some devotional activity. By doing service, the Lord actually is very pleased. Okay, Prabhu. Is it okay, Chetan Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so here for a man, mind is a cause of bondage and mind is a cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense object is a cause of bondage, and mind detached from sense object is cause of liberation. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause. So this paragraph, I think summarizes what we discussed. So any questions or comments in this particular paragraph? Everybody understood it? How mind is a cause of bondage and how mind is a cause of liberation. Okay, devotees, is this paragraph clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so then we'll go to the last. So this is basically the first two paragraphs, first two sloka. I mean, this sloka and the first sloka, right? I think one part is the same. Basically, it is saying the mind, conquered mind is the best friend, and then unconquered mind is a greatest enemy, right? This is even true even if you are not from a spiritual perspective. Even from material perspective, also this is true, right? I mean, even in the material life, right? People who are karmis or who doesn't have spiritual idea, for them also, mind actually is the biggest. It can be biggest enemy or it can be the biggest friend, right? Because see the problems in the life, right? We discussed the kleshas. There are three kleshas, right? Adhyatmic, Adidevic, and Adi Baudik klesh. So in the Adhyatmic klesh, which actually is caused by oneself. So there are two levels actually. One is caused by the body, and one is caused by the mind. So some people know, like who actually are suffering from the bodily issues, like some disease, etc., health. Their body will give a lot of trouble actually. For example, somebody is suffering from cancer, right? There is a lot of pain and difficulty. But at the same time, somebody who's suffering from a mental disease, or it may not have a disease actually. Some people may have a mind which is very flickering, or very wavery, very weak mind, right? So they actually worry too much, so much that they will never be happy. So every small things, they keep on worrying. What is going to happen? When I do this. So all the time, mind is continuously worrying. Actually, that is also a big pain in one way, right? They will never be happy. So the mind actually can be, if the mind actually is controlled and favorable, then that person can be happy mentally, right? Otherwise, actually, he can be in distress. Actually, the people who are actually going through depression and so many other mental problems, right? It is because they are not able to control their mind. The mind actually is completely creating havoc in their life, right? So this way, uncontrolled mind actually can be a great enemy. Ultimately, a mind is impelling the living entity, in various ways to commit different activities, right? All the sinful activities, the crime, criminal activities, etc., is actually, in fact, actually, it is driven by the mind only. I mean, though the intelligence is there, we have seen that there is a sequence, right? What is the superiority? The senses are actually the dull matter is the least. Superior to dull matter is the senses. Superior to senses is the mind. Superior to mind is the intelligence, and superior to intelligence is the soul. So that is the progression. But actually, it is mentioned last week. We discussed that even though intelligence is superior to the mind, but nevertheless, most of the time, mind tries to control, or intelligence is not able to control the mind actually. Just like it is given example of a medicine, right? Sometimes the medicine may be very potent, but still it is not able to control the infection. Same way, the intelligence, though it is superior, it is not able to control the mind, because intelligence is very not spiritualized, or its material nature, right? So this is possible. So this part, anybody has any doubt that no, mind is the best friend and mind can be the worst enemy?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay.
No, Prabhuji.
Because now we are in the last paragraph. I would like you guys, I have spoken for a long time now. Now you all speak for some time. Please come up with some important points, from the last paragraph.
It says, Prabhuji, in a sense that mind control is the most important, step, and the purpose of eightfold yoga is also, for the same thing. By following rigorously eightfold yoga, the aim is to achieve mind control. However, it's a laborious, process, and the same thing can be obtained even when mind is engaged in Krishna consciousness. It automatically subserves, the mind and tames the mind, uh, without having to go through the eightfold process of yoga.
Yes. Okay. So after, so what is the other, what is the limitation in the eightfold process? Let's say we become perfect in it. Somebody becomes perfect in Ashtanga yoga, and let's say he comes to a state where he controls the mind. No. So then, is there any disadvantage in
It
that?
Yeah, it will still not take him to the Lord, the supreme personality of Godhead. That is not the aim there. Mind control is the aim there, and one might achieve mind control. However,
Yes.
it will still not take him to the lotus feet of the Lord, which is the final abode.
Yes, Mataji, very nice. Yes. Because Ashtanga yoga, many times, devotees see ultimately what is the desire of the living entity is what matters, right? So unless and until somebody has a desire to serve the Lord, right, he will not get that service naturally, because Lord actually will not force anybody. The living entity has free will. So we have to first of all understand what is the ultimate goal, right? If you are not able to understand the ultimate goal, naturally our activities will not be perfect, right? If you think that okay, I want just become peaceful, I want to control the mind, I want to be happy, then actually your activities will be in that direction, but then you are not achieving the highest goal. Simple as that. So Ashtanga yoga is actually not the ultimate I mean, it is not the ultimate by itself, right? It actually can help you in the path, but if you think that attaining Ashtanga yoga siddhi is the ultimate goal, then actually that is not the right understanding. It is just an aid actually. It is not the what is called the means and the goal, right? It is not the goal actually. It can be means, but especially in this Kali Yuga, it is not recommended actually, because it's very difficult to do it perfectly. As we discussed many times, right? Yoga means to connect. So just becoming controlled in mind and becoming detachment is actually not complete unless until we are attached to something higher, right? That's what rasavarjyam rasobhyasya param drishta. So unless and until we attain the higher taste, no, it is very difficult to give up the lower taste. Like all this material enjoyment actually appears to be very tasty to a person who is very ignorant, right? A person who doesn't have spiritual knowledge, who is ignorant about the spiritual knowledge, who is blind, he for him the material knowledge is highly palatable. He actually day and night, all these living entities who we see around, right? All of them are working day and night so much hard to enjoy, right? To become happy. But actually, somebody who's attained, tasted the spiritual bliss, right? For him, this actually material enjoyment is very like, is like a something like a garbage. Actually, it doesn't have any value. It's so very, what you call bland, no taste, right? Because so that is why just having become detached or not just controlling the mind is not the end of it. we have to become attached to the Lord. We have to develop a taste or a ruchi, right, or a rasa, and actually in serving the Lord and doing devotional service. That actually will automatically come when we do devotional service, and when we start getting the rasa, then actually all these other things becomes extremely insignificant, and we don't have to separately endeavor to control our our desires and our whatever. All those things actually will be taken care automatically because we are attaining higher taste. So that is also very very important point to understand, right? Otherwise it is not possible. That is why people who are actually in the path of knowledge path, or in the even the yoga path, no, they are actually not able to completely succeed because actually they are not attain the attraction to the higher truth, actually higher principle. So even the Brahman realization is an intermediate understanding. The people who are actually meditating on the impersonal Brahman, right? The impersonal Brahman is called Nirguna Brahma, Nirguna Brahma, right? There is no qualities actually, no material qualities there. No, there is no variety, or there is no that kind of real. There is definitely some kind of ananda, but that is not the ultimate ananda, right? Because there is no variety, and the living entity's nature is always to be active. You always want some activity. You always want varieties. So that actually that variegatedness doesn't exist in the Nirguna Brahma or Brahma Jyoti, which is an intermediate place, right? We have seen that between the material world and spiritual world, and many of the yogis or the jnanis, they are their goal is actually to reach there, but that is not the ultimate actually. Beyond that, actually, Brahmano hi pradishtaham, Krishna says. So the Brahman or the Nirguna Brahma is actually resting on me. Krishna says that it is just a light actually. Beyond Brahman actually is the supreme Lord, right? Because we can just imagine all these varieties that we see in the material world, right? So much of variegatedness, so many living entities, so many emotions, so many relationship. How all these things can manifest from something which is completely nirguna? That is not possible, right? All this variegatedness can only come from something which is also variegatedness, something personal. All this relationship, it can only come from somebody, another person, right? So that way the acharyas actually have established that the supreme absolute truth is a person, is a Bhagavan, right? And he has all this, he is the source of all these different rasas and melos. And this impersonal Brahman is only just a partial representation of the supreme absolute truth. That is not ultimate. Okay, nevertheless, but we see that majority of the people who are in the spiritual path, no, they don't have this complete knowledge. They are actually only aspiring to reach the Brahman. That we can see generally. All this Mayavada philosophy, right? Mayavada, the people who are actually in the Shankaracharya line, they are actually all only their aim is only to reach there. That's all. That not beyond that. Only the pure devotees actually, they aspire to actually, have this have the personal relationship with the Lord. Okay, so that actually we have to understand. Yes, other devotees, please, or you can also add other devotees. What other points are there in the last para? No questions, no comments, anything? Everything is clear, devotees? Okay, then I'll ask questions. What does the false ego want to do?
False
Well,
ego is false ego is basically we are assuming we are not the body, and based on that, the false ego make us to think as we are the controller, enjoyer, and the doer of everything.
yes. So it desires to lord it over the material nature. No? That's what actually here it is. That is clear, right? The false ego, when we identify with the body, we think we want to enjoy and want to lord it over. When is the mind our best friend and when is the mind our enemy?
When the mind is which is very entangled and attached toward the materials enjoyment, materialistic, the sense enjoyment, then it is a enemy. And if it is always engaged in devotional service, in the service of the Lord, um, and by chanting, association of devotees, and reading scriptures, always engaged in the service of the like always in Krishna consciousness, then our mind will be a friend.
Yes. By what symptoms can we understand that our how do we know that our mind is our enemy? Or no, when we'll understand, okay, this behavior or this suggestion of the mind is not good for me.
It is
Hare
basically
Krishna,
for
Prabhuji.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mataji, please continue, please.
Mataji.
Revati Mataji, you can say.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Symptoms where we find is we falling into anger, greed, or more into material attachment, those things, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
By that, we will get to know that we are just not into our controlled mind, or our mind is an enemy.
Yes. Anybody else want to add? What do you think? By what symptoms can we understand that our mind is our enemy? Aruna Mataji, would you like to say something?
Constantly when it's engaged in sense, enjoyment, and unable to break off from the line of sense enjoyment and think about spiritual activities. I think that is a time, or doing mundane stuff and not really realizing or wanting to come out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else want to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just want to ask one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like now we are doing prasadam for the God.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to do some spiritual, I mean, I'm trying to do some spiritual activity, but still I'm trying to prepare some prasada for the God, where I think the prasada will be very nice. I can enjoy it instead of thinking that God will enjoy, or the prasadam will be very good for God. Then I have not really come up into that. Though I am in association, I am not come up in spiritual path, no Prabhuji. Still my mind is an enemy. And I try to control it, the more it just runs
Yeah.
out of my control, even more faster than me.
Yeah, Mataji. So this is not a problem, I think. See, because yeah, to come to a stage, no, where actually we do our activities for the pleasure of the Lord, right? That is a very advanced stage. So that is why we have different stages in devotional life, no? Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Okay, so as long as we are in the Kanishta stage, so like that means that no, maybe 80% of the devotees, no, or even 90% of devotees may be Kanishta Adhikaris. Okay, then remaining only the other stages are much advanced stage actually. So, but that is why we have to do devotional service, even though it in the perfect way. But any devotional activity is actually it will purify us. So even if you think that I like this sambar, or no, I like this particular curry or sabji, and I make it so that I can eat, but still actually it is only purifying you. Though we are not in the pure devotional stage. See, if somebody is in the pure devotional stage, he will only think what actually the Lord wants, and he can also understand the Lord's desire. But in our current stage, we may not even know what is the desire of the Lord, right? Because when you have the deities of the Lord, as and when we make progress, right, the devotee can understand what is the mood of the Lord, and the Lord actually, like in various ways, no, it gives indication to the devotee. So, but that is a very advanced stage actually. But I know that it will take time, Mataji. But even if you are trying to prepare food for the Lord and want to offer prasadam, even if it is for your own this thing, it is part of the regulated. So we have this called something called Vaidhi Bhakti, right? That is called regulated devotional service. We are in the regulated devotional service where actually we are doing following the rules and regulations. So all these activities are purifying us. No, we are actually doing chanting the holy name, no, like eating prasadam, like doing devotional service, like for example preaching. Everything is we are all, but we are in the sadhaka stage. No, we are in the regulated devotional service where we are following the rules and regulations. So at this stage, we cannot expect that no we go to the pure devotion service platform, which is the Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion service, where actually we'll be in a very elevated stage, and we don't have any desire for ourselves. We only want to serve the Lord. That is a very advanced stage. So that is very common and natural, Mataji.
Thank you,
But
Prabhuji.
that doesn't mean that no we endeavor to continue in that stage only.
Yeah.
So even realizing that okay, this is not the best thing to do, that actually is a good thing. So so that we can keep improving our this thing. So that everybody has to go through a small step by step progress, right? So unless until we have already done so much devotional service in my previous life, in such cases they may be able to immediately come to the highly elevated platform. But otherwise, actually, it is a gradual process. Okay, but being aware that actually this is not the best thing to do, and trying to endeavor to gradually become more and more what you call detached from our personal sense gratification is definitely we should endeavor for that actually. But there is no, this is not a sin or no something very bad or wrong, right? So that is what I feel, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. So what symptoms can we understand with our mind is enemy? So basically, simple for a pure devotee or somebody who is trying to advance in devotional life, anything that the mind. So the mind is the one who gives us suggestions, right? The mind actually keeps on giving us different options. So any options which actually takes us towards Krishna, then we can understand that the mind is our friend. And any suggestion which the mind gives, which actually is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, right? We should consider that it is not favorable, it's unfavorable, and it's kind of enemy. So it is told anukulyasa sankalpa, pratikulyasa vivarjana, right? So we can analyze everything actually very easily. You know, if you are prepared to, if you are convinced, and if you are having faith, then the decisions are generally very easy. In any suggestion given by the mind, you think that is this activity which I will do as a result of this particular suggestion, is it going to take me closer to the Lord, or is it going to take me far away from the Lord? Like that, we can analyze each and every suggestion of the mind and take a decision, right? Actually, the process is very simple, but it is not easy to do it actually, right? And then sometimes our mind cheat actually. So in this process itself, the mind will try to say, it will like try to sugarcoat actually. It will, even though it is not favorable to Krishna, we might somehow try to make it favorable in such a way that no, like indirectly I can do it. Like I'll buy a new mobile because my mobile is now old, right? So actually, I want to buy. My friend bought a new mobile. I have a desire to get a new mobile phone. But actually, what I'll say, this mobile I'm not able to know. Like when I was seeing the videos, it is very slow. I'm hearing kirtan, but somehow that kirtans are not coming, or no, it's very slow, or no, or something, some reason we'll find actually, or no, these apps are not working in this. So we'll actually, though our desire is for our own enjoyment, we'll try to put the Krishna. No, mind will try to cheat us, saying that okay, you can do this in this, right? So this way the mind is very subtle in its nature, and it sometimes it tries to cheat us even without our knowledge. So we have to be clear. We have to really analyze, seeing that really it is for what purpose, right? So this kind of things happens actually. Okay. So that is why when we can take advice from senior devotees actually, if you are not able to understand or decide whether it is really good for me or not. See, in general, the more the possessions we have, the more actually it is difficult to become attached to the Lord, because the more the number of possession, right, the more our entanglement is. It's very easy to understand. I don't think anybody has any difficulty, right? You just imagine a person, right? I'm not saying that we can do that. Just think that no, probably when we started our life in the beginning, no, we had only very little things. Probably, we did not have our own house. We was just staying in a small rented house, and we have very little possessions, right? So at that time, naturally, it will be very easy for us actually if you want to shift a house, because there's no too much worry. Or when you just think that you are traveling in the train, right, or a train actually, from maybe one overnight journey. So if you don't have any bag or anything, you can sleep peacefully, right, without much worry. You don't have to worry much. If you have a lot of ornaments and a lot of possession, then you don't have any peace. So this way, the more the possessions we have, the more the mind and all, no, our senses, everything will become completely entangled in those thoughts, right? If you don't have anything, then actually that's called nishkinjana. So the Lord likes people who are nishkinjana. They don't have any material possession. Those people actually are naturally dear to the Lord. And for the person's own this thing also, it will be better. A person, for example, you see people who are, I'm not saying that that is the best thing, but certain aspects of somebody, like some people who are laborers who actually stay in a small shed, right, when construction is going on. So they actually don't think too much about what is going to happen after 10 years. They only think about that day, what I have to do. So the more we have possessions, the more we have relationships, the more the mind becomes preoccupied with all those things. I know, and it continuously zaps our energy, because so much of attention is required, right? Just like think like you want to buy a mobile. Okay, just that thought, right? So then we'll keep thinking about, no, I want a mobile, I want a mobile. Then what happens, you will start doing research, start searching in the internet, no, what are the different kind of mobile, and you spend a lot of time, right? And after that actually, you'll think so much, and then after ordering the item, then also you are anxious actually, what will happen if it did not work, what if this problem is there, that problem is there. And after ordering, then you will keep on tracking when it is going to come, how many days it will take to come, where is it now. Like that, you continuously that one desire actually is binding up so much, and so many chain of reactions happen. And even after getting the mobile also, we may not be happy. So sometime we'll be happy, like that. Each and every desire that comes, right, it actually creates so much preoccupation for the living entity in the material world. So that is why we have to understand how much actually these things. So, and all this time is not really helping us, in actually making progress in spiritual life. Simpler. That's why Prabhupada always used to say, simple living and high thinking. So basically, thinking should be high on a high spiritual platform, but actually simple living. We should not have unnecessary things. Actually, what is should not try to accumulate more and more things which are not really required, right? Whatever is essential we should have. But the more possessions we have, the more actually we become distressed, and no, our mind becomes preoccupied. And without your, even if we don't want, let's say you decide that I want to do devotional activity, but because of so many things are there, right? You will get preoccupied because no, let's say 10 items are there, 10 electronic items, right? Some other item will not work. Suddenly one becomes damaged, and I mean, some problem happened, and you have to run around to repair it. And by the time when you fix, something else will go wrong into something else, right? And this way or other way, all these things keep you busy with things which are not necessary. So we have to actually understand the subtle nature of all these things, right? Any comments? Do you agree, devotees? Or if you don't agree, let me know.
Agree, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. What is the purpose of yoga system? I think we discussed about it, right? What is the yoga that we know? In principle, it is mind control. How can the mind be cause of bondage and liberation? We saw that we can conquer the mind. How? What is symptom one who has conquered the mind? So, what is the symptom of one who has conquered the mind? Anybody want to say that? What is the symptom of one who has conquered the mind? Nobody knows.
Basically, Prabhuji, if one is controlled the mind, then definitely he will not, he will feel or he or she will feel equal to friends or enemies. And
Yes.
he will not get distracted because of name and fame, ups and downs in the life.
Yes. So basically, symptom is that one who is conquered the mind will be peaceful. That is one thing, right? So that's a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, no? Brahma Bodha Prasanna Atma na sochadi na kankshadi. Sama sarveshu bhudeshu mad bhaktim labade para. So that aspect of sama sarveshu bhudeshu means he sees all living entities in the same platform. And na sochadi na kankshadi. No, he actually is not worried about anything, and he's not desiring anything. So this he becomes very extremely externally. That person is very peaceful. He is not agitated by any of these things, external things. That is one of the lakshana, right? That you can see in pure devotees. We see that they are very peaceful and calm, and they are not agitated by any of these things. So that is one symptom. Would you like to make your mind a friend? How will you make mind your friend? How can we increase our surrender and supreme personality God? How do you plan to do this practically? How do you make the mind friend? Application in our day-to-day life. What are we going to do to make our friend, mind our friend?
First and foremost is the ABCD, Prabhuji,
Mhm.
and chanting, like every day early morning chanting is the only strongest way to make our mind controlled.
Mm.
And reading the scriptures, then we realize, and which will help us more in devotional service, and which help us to understand more about the Lord, so that we can improve our chanting. And
Okay.